Okay, picture this. It's a scenario that's probably incredibly common for most of us, right? You're sitting there completely comfortable in your air-conditioned room, just tapping away on your phone, and expecting your food or maybe your groceries to magically appear at your doorstep in 10 minutes flat. It honestly feels like the absolute peak of human progress. But in today's explainer, the source material we're unpacking asks us to do something a bit uncomfortable. We need to look right past our own comfort and confront the scorching reality that's playing out on the streets at that exact same moment. We like to call this instant convenience progress, but for millions of workers out there, well, it's quickly morphing into a very dark reality. And that brings us to this one very pointed question. What actually happens outside while you wait? While we're chilling in a climate-controlled room, a delivery partner is out there navigating through relentless, literally punishing heat. The sources highlight a really grim contrast here. The very system that gives us this seamless, instantaneous service, it's basically acting as a set of invisible chains for the people providing the labor. In fact, it's introducing a concept that labor experts and social analysts are increasingly calling modern slavery. Now, modern slavery is a heavy phrase for sure, but understanding what it actually means in this context is absolutely crucial. This isn't just some buzzword they throw around. We really need to look at how street vendors and delivery partners are entirely trapped. I mean, these workers are operating with zero basic safety nets, no health insurance, no legal protections, no safety buffer whatsoever. If the heat takes a toll on their bodies, they are entirely on their own. So you've got our economic system and the changing environment working together, basically pushing these essential workers into this endless cycle of vulnerability. All right, let's move on to Section 1, the scale of the struggle. To really wrap our heads around this, look at this staggering number. We are talking about 380 million workers. That's 38 crore individuals in India who are directly exposed to the environment and extreme heat on a daily basis. That is massive. From construction workers to delivery partners, they are the literal backbone of our daily infrastructure. Yet, they are the exact ones absorbing the full, brutal impact of both rising heat and inflation directly on their shoulders every single day. And here's the real kicker. It's basically a tale of two worlds. Most of these exposed workers are in the informal sector. Now, in the formal sector, if you get sick, you stay home, you rest, you still get paid, and you have medical aid, right? But the informal sector operates on a much, much harsher reality. For them, falling sick or getting injured means an absolute 100% loss of their daily wage. There's no paid leave, there's no employer helping out with medical bills. If they don't brave the heat, their families simply don't eat. It is a relentless daily gamble. So, what's driving this on an environmental level? Let's get into Section 2, the science of the streets. You know, as we build our cities taller and denser, we create what scientists call the urban heat island effect. We are throwing up these massive concrete structures and chopping down trees left and right. And here's the thing, concrete acts like a giant, relentless sponge for solar radiation. It just absorbs the heat all day long under the blistering sun. Then, crucially, it releases that heat incredibly slowly throughout the night, which means our concrete jungles are literally baking, preventing the city from ever properly cooling down, even long after the sun sets. To put some localized numbers on that, the source notes that night temperatures in major metropolitan areas, like Delhi, have spiked dramatically. We're seeing nighttime temperatures hitting up to 4.4 degrees Celsius above the historical average. That is huge. This isn't just some minor weather fluctuation. It is a massive environmental shift that fundamentally changes how a human body experiences the city. And the biological consequence of that heat? It's incredibly dangerous. Because the city stays unnaturally hot through the night from all that trapped heat, these workers' bodies simply cannot recover. Normally, nighttime is when your body resets its internal thermostat. But when the night offers zero relief, all that accumulated thermal stress could just carries right over to the next day. This compounding exhaustion drastically increases their vulnerability to severe and sometimes fatal heat strokes. Actually, just a quick aside here from the sources before we move on. It's wild to think about, but while millions are physically toiling in this heat, the digital world is just accelerating. The source points out that utilizing AI tools, even things like taking masterclasses to build websites without writing a single line of code, is what fast-tracks the exact kind of data reporting that brings these social issues to light. It's just a really stark contrast in how rapidly some parts of our world advance, while others are just left behind. Okay, let's get back to the human cost with Section 3, the systemic trap. This is where the changing climate hits the wallet, and it hits hard.
Studies show that just a mere 1 degree Celsius bump in temperature leads to a 14% drop in these workers' earnings. And when a severe heat wave strikes, that drop plummets to 40%. 40%. Why? Because they literally cannot physically work as many hours in that extreme heat. Plus, their daily expenses actually skyrocket. They have to spend their already shrinking earnings on basic survival, extra water, ice, medicines, just to get through their shift. Now, brace yourself, because the sources uncovered a truly shocking systemic loophole here. According to the data, severe heat waves are systematically denied classification as a formal notified disaster by the government. Because the heat isn't officially recognized as the primary disaster, do you know what happens? The resulting heat-related deaths get officially recorded on death certificates as sudden cardiac arrests. The underlying cause, the actual extreme heat, is completely erased from the official record. You might be wondering, why does that specific paperwork classification matter so much? Well, it's about the money and accountability. If a heat wave were officially declared a notified disaster, the government would be legally obligated to pay 400,000 rupees. That's 4 lakhs in compensation to the families for every single heat-related death. By labeling them just as cardiac arrests, the system effectively sidesteps the entire responsibility of compensating families who just lost their primary breadwinner to extreme environmental conditions. It's wild.
I know this is heavy, but there are ways to push back. Let's look at Section 4, Grassroots Empathy and Solutions. So, the science actually offers a surprisingly simple, natural solution to all this: planting trees. Seriously, trees can drastically cool the ground level temperatures for pedestrians by up to 12 degrees Celsius. They are literally nature's air conditioners. Yet, tragically, as the source points out, we are still actively chopping down mature, old-growth forests in the name of urban development, ripping out these deeply rooted cooling systems and replacing them with, you guessed it, more heat-absorbing concrete. But here's the thing. You actually hold the power for grassroots change. Next time you get that 10-minute delivery, just offer the partner a glass of cold water. Give them a minute to rest in the shade if you can. And on a community level, we have to actively fight to protect the old trees in our neighborhoods. Newly planted saplings have a really low survival rate, so protecting the existing canopy we already have is absolutely vital. Also, if this explainer sparked your curiosity about why our local straits are getting so hot, the source material highly recommends digging into their deeper breakdowns. They cover massive global patterns like El Niño and overarching climate change. Getting a handle on these big macroeconomic and global weather patterns is really essential to understanding why these localized systemic issues are happening way more often. All right, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought today. As we sit back and enjoy our air-conditioned comfort and all these amazing on-demand services, we really have to ask ourselves, are we willing to trade basic human dignity just for 10-minute convenience? It's a tough question, but it's all about our collective responsibility moving forward. Let's stay informed, let's stay empathetic, and let's actually take those small grassroots actions. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.